Sasuke and Naruto are so similar, and yet they're so different at the same time. Kishimoto displays a very interesting ability in being able to draw similarities between characters while also being able to contrast them as vastly different from each other. Sasuke, while seeming to be a what if Naruto did this himself, is his own character, by which Naruto himself could be recontextualized. One can look at Naruto as a what if Sasuke did this himself. A lot of villains are recontextualizations of Naruto's, but slightly different. It sets up our hero not only to sympathize with the villain, but also displays just how different he is, how rare, how unique. That's one of the beauties that exist in Kishimoto's work. He somehow, by propagating the same character everywhere, makes that character more unique. It's proof that Kishimoto knew what he was doing when forging this series, and from it one can glean a lot. The successes of Naruto can also be seen in other franchises, not speaking of rip-offs, but of those who use these same building blocks to make their series successful. There is a lattice for great storytelling in which tropes, the building blocks of a story, can be placed. An infinite number of possibilities in any one infinite number of templates. But here I am getting overly analytical about why a series is good when I should be introducing the theme of our video. The theme of this video is Naruto and Sasuke switching places, seeing if the way they live now can in any way change who they become. Will Naruto become a homicidal maniac, hell-bent on destroying the Hidden Leaf Village? Or will Sasuke become a tragic hero with a heart full of hope, honor, and kindness? Only time will tell. So please take a seat and join us on this journey. Welcome to the Amagi. Before we begin, only 25% of our viewers are subscribed, so if you're a fan of the video, please like and double check if you are subscribed. And with that out of the way, let's get into the video. The song and dance of many old times past returns once again to greet us, the night of October 10th, that night of infamy which the entire village would never forget. For most what-ifs, this is the nexus of Naruto's origin, but not today. Today, something different occurs. Today, unto the fourth Hokage and his wife, a child is born. Under the soft candlelight, a spark of nostalgia awakens, in which Minato and Kushina are determined to name their child after the father of one of the men they respect the most. They decide to name him after Sasuke Sarutobi, the father of Hiruzen. Biwako was pleased to hear that, knowing that they honor her husband, the man she loves most. The child came out with the same blonde hair as his father, but his physical appearance was not like unto either of them. Quite the oddity, perhaps a soul mixed up in transition. Elsewhere, sitting under the awning of their family home, Itachi Uchiha looked up into the night sky. The air was chilled. They were but 21 days out from Halloween, one of the last holidays before Christmas. As he sat there, he thought about the meaning of these holidays and who celebrated them. He thought about why he had become a ninja in the first place. He was alone today. Nobody was there to watch over him. His parents were both on patrol. His mother, despite having 2 children, worked, but not for long. She planned to get the last of her time in and retire with a full pension by the end of the year. As Itachi thought about these things, he looked down at the baby he was holding. The hair was black as night, but despite that, it didn't look much like him or their father. He possessed tiny little tiger lines across his cheeks, like the whiskers of a feline or something. Ah yes, another soul mixed up. Itachi returned his gaze to the night sky and pondered such a thing. Could souls actually get mixed up on their way to their natural body, or was everything planned out from the beginning? And if so, had the plans for this child and the one with which it swapped places been changed? Or was it always the plan for these two to be here? If it were always the plan, then did that not mean that this wasn't a mix-up, and that this child was one meant for their household as much as Itachi was? Itachi smirked. It was a jump in logic to assume that this child wasn't meant to be here. Little Naruto, named after a fish cake because of the shape of the swirl in his hair as he was born. What possessed their father to give such a strange name as that to the child? It was just so, well, the best word to describe it was strange. But that sorta undersold the true feeling behind why Fugaku would curse his son with such a name as that. But alas, here we were. And here was Naruto. Itachi held Naruto up in his arms. As he looked at his brother, he thought of the bright future he might have, and it made Itachi smile. But as if the very thought of a happy life brought on pure destruction, there was an explosion. Itachi jumped and nearly fumbled his little brother, panicking and pulling him into his embrace. The baby began to cry. As Itachi stood up, he saw the 9-tailed demon fox appear, its snoot rising above the buildings to the heavens above. Itachi witnessed it and took a moment to recognize. His mind was racing through all the possibilities, making as many connections as he could. The Ninetales was a tailed beast. The tailed beast was inside of Kushina. Kushina was pregnant and set to give birth tonight. The appearance of this beast was either intentional or accidental, which meant one of two things. The first, being the least likely, was that Kushina had betrayed them. But the second, more likely of the two, was that something was wrong with Kushina. As Itachi's heart began to come to grasp the situation and its meaning, he snapped back to reality. Hearing Naruto crying in his arms, he realized what his place was now. The village was in danger, which meant, being the eldest son in the house at current, emergency powers were allocated to him to make the best decisions on behalf of Naruto. He realized that he needed to find safety, to stay out of the way of the other shinobi who were fighting. His priority right now was Naruto, so Itachi, grabbing an extra blanket, wrapped his baby brother up in it for two reasons. The first being to keep him warm in the cold night air, and the second being to offer some extra cushioning should something happen that caused Itachi to accidentally drop him, or should falling rubble strike them somehow. Holding the little baby burrito in his arms, he began to charge down the road. He remembered from his emergency training for situations like this, where the shelter was. As he ran, he met up with Izumi, who was now currently making her there as well. "What's happening?" she asked. "Something bad." Suddenly, an eardrum-shattering roar could be heard. "What was that?" Izumi cried out in terror. "That was the something bad I was talking about," Itachi said. The two of them raced off. It was at about that time that Makoto, in full gear, raced up to them. "Mom," Itachi said, "what are you doing here? I thought you and Dad would be fighting the monster." "We were supposed to," Makoto said, "but the Uchiha were just given very specific instructions. We're to escort the villagers to safety." Makoto looked up at the beast and felt her heart quake. Not just at the sheer magnificence and terror of it and its power, but also at the idea that this had to mean one thing. Kushina was dead. "Come on, kids," Makoto said. "Watch out!" Itachi cried as a large boulder flung through the air began to lower to the ground, threatening to crush them all. Seamlessly passing Naruto off to his mother without Makoto even noticing it, Itachi rose into the air and struck the boulder with his hand, shattering it. Makoto was in awe of her son's strength. Itachi. Standing there, his fist bleeding from how hard he had struck the stone, he looked back. In a moment, Makoto saw in her son's eyes the same determination that existed in Fugaku's. "Come on," he said. "I'll protect us." With a flash of lightning, Minato stepped back to get his bearings. With the battle between himself and the masked man at its end, he now had to deal with the unbridled rage of the Ninetales. It was possible that the beast was even more dangerous now than it had ever been. While it was determined to destroy the village under the direction of its master before, now it was the same, but the sheer violent and primal nature of it had it expending its chakra and power even more liberally. If Minato didn't stop it right here, not only would the whole of Konoha be shattered, but the beast might nuke the whole land of fire. The sheer power pulsating from within the beast was the stuff of legend. It was death incarnate. It was the symbol of strength and power, and without anyone controlling it, the beast's rampage could threaten the whole world. Minato needed to do something about it quickly. Rushing forward, he dodged claws, tails, and even a miniature-tailed beast blast. Minato rushed up under the beast and proceeded to touch its foot. The moment he did, he utilized the flying Raijin technique to teleport the beast to his safe house. He needed to seal it away. But despite his desires to use the beast to save Kushina's life, both she and Minato knew that it was too late for her. She was going to die and nothing could stop it. The strain of childbirth mixed with the removal of her tailed beast was all but fatal. If perhaps she hadn't been so drained from bringing another life into the world, surely she could have survived with the beast restored. But as she stood there, a glaze in her eyes, Minato knew it was divine providence for her to even be standing. She was a goner, and the only thing they could do was ensure that future generations would be protected by the Ninetales, whether it wanted to or not. And now, as they had prepared Sasuke to take the tailed beast, all that was left was the sealing. Summoning the Shinigami, Minato prepared to seal it. Sealing half into himself, he sealed the other half into baby Sasuke. Minato and Kushina both got one moment to say goodbye before the Reaper took its share. Kushina and Minato both fell over dead, leaving Sasuke alone in the cold, only to later be found by Hiruzen and his men. And that seemed to be the end of it. Except it wasn't. Despite the attack from that night barely lasting 30 minutes, the effects echoed on into years. The Ninetales had stolen the precious lives of many Konoha citizens, and the people demanded retribution. They demanded closure, and those responsible, or considered to be responsible, were treated like garbage. Naruto, growing up as the son of the head of the Uchiha clan, would recognize this quite a bit. Despite that, he was considered very attractive by the standards of every girl in class, including Sakura, Ino, and the like. Sasuke, on the other hand, was oft avoided, despite not knowing why. The pain of such mistreatment led on to resentment toward the village. The more people mistreated him, the more they looked at him with disdain, the more they voiced their opinions that he was both unwanted and a curse on their village, the more Sasuke grew to close off. That wasn't to say that he was alone in this. Hinata Hyuga, a girl from the prestigious Hyuga clan, seemed to take an interest in him. Did she feel bad for him, or was it that she truly cared for him? That was still up in the air. Despite that, she never said anything, nor would Sasuke ever know. Despite having to bear the weight of his clan's accusation, Naruto was a happy boy. After all, it didn't matter what the village thought, so long as he could go home and spend time cuddling in his mother's arms. But as the day drew to a close, Naruto would return to the Uchiha compound to find it unusually dark. What was it? Why did the compound seem so scary? It felt abandoned, liminal. As he walked through the night, he couldn't help but feel like he had stepped into a horror story. Like he had just entered a small neighborhood in which a monster lurked, and now it was too late to go back. He walked deeper despite his heart telling him to go home. It was as if all the spirits of all those who died there were crying for him to run for his life. But alas, further he drifted, like a cloud on the winds of fate. As he walked through, he smelled a stale scent that, as he grew closer, turned into the smell of pennies. Like someone had spilled a lot of change to the ground. It was then that he discovered a body. Terrified, Naruto moved away. He ran to the nearest house and opened the door. "Someone help! Someone just died!" He noticed that the floor of this house was also covered in blood. In the shadows were two forms not too unlike those of an elderly couple. Naruto stepped back. How many? Who could do this? Suddenly, Naruto's heart trembled at the thought of what might have become of his own home. Naruto ran toward home, entering through the doorway. The lights were off. He opened his mouth to call out for his parents, only for his voice to betray him and remain silent. All that came out was a breathy whisper for his mother. Suddenly, his hands covered his mouth, as if fear that he could be detected by that alone was too much. He started to sneak through the house, searching for his parents, but he couldn't find them. That was until he heard a rustling not too far from where he stood. Slowly, moving through the halls, he made his way to what was his parents' bedroom. He heard rustling on the other side. His mind was flooded with possibilities. It's Mom and Dad. It's the killer. Every positive thought he had was tainted by a negative one. A world of what ifs. If I open this door, I'll be safe. If I open this door, I will die. Caught between the balance of yes and no, Naruto threw caution to the wind and opened it anyway. As soon as he did, he saw the scene. His parents laying dead in a pool of blood. Naruto had made a mistake. He had decided to open the door, and now he was going to be killed. No, wait, who was that? He saw someone standing over the bodies. What he assumed to be the killer wasn't. It was only his brother, Itachi. Naruto saw Itachi turn back toward him and look at him. Naruto rushed over. Itachi! He hugged his leg. Itachi could feel Naruto shaking. His world had just come to an end. Itachi, what's going on? Why is this happening? Why is everyone dead? Itachi remained silent. Naruto looked up at him. Itachi, He then noticed a blade in Itachi's hand. It was covered in blood. No, that's not what happened. You didn't do that. He looked up and saw Itachi's gaze. It now seemed full of venom and disdain, hatred. Naruto pulled back a bit, stumbling. Itachi slowly turned back toward him to face him, the front of his clothes now exposed to the moonlight. They were soaked, stained through in blood. Naruto felt his will collapse. I'm gonna die. My favorite brother, my only brother, is gonna kill me. As Itachi drew closer, Naruto's eyes began to overflow with tears. What did we do, Itachi? Why do you hate us? Itachi stopped in front of him and looked down. Naruto, slowly breaking down more and more, just rested his head in Itachi's pant leg. Sobbing, he asked, What did we ever do bad, Itachi? Why do you want to kill us? Whatever we did, I'm sorry. I won't ever do it again. Just please, forgive me. I don't want to die. Itachi's very soul was boiling with pain. He felt as though he were already in hell, being punished for what he did. Not only did he have to look his family in the eyes when he killed them, but now he had to torture his little brother, forcing him to experience everything in the hopes that he would develop hatred for him, and this would drive Naruto to be better. Itachi, with his Mangekyo Sharingan, forced Naruto into the Tsukiyomi. He felt Naruto's entire body tense before going limp. Catching his body before he fell, he lowered Naruto to the ground. Here, Itachi nearly broke down crying. Seeing his little brother foam at the mouth with the trauma he was experiencing, Itachi wished to die. He wished to kill himself. He wished there had been any other way besides this. Kissing his brother's cheek, Itachi's eyes overran with tears. Standing up, he began to leave. Whether planned or on purpose, it wasn't certain, but Naruto eventually woke up. The pain he had experienced had forced his eyes to awaken as Sharingan. He stepped outside to confront Itachi. Attacking him with newfound courage, Naruto didn't care if he died. "It wasn't right," he shouted. "It was unfair. Why did you have to do this? What did we ever do to you?" Naruto demanded to know these things, as his futile efforts at retribution were quashed by someone far larger, smarter, and naturally gifted than him. Simple, because I wanted to know if I could, and I did. I am truly the strongest Uchiha, but I need a challenge. I need to be sure. So the only other Uchiha with as much potential as I will live, Itachi said. I dare you to kill me. Go live like an insect. Cling onto your pathetic, miserable life. Fear every night that I live under your bed. Fear that in the moments you fall asleep, that at the witching hour as you wake up with sleep paralysis, that I will be the demon in your room, ready to kill you. Hate me. Fear me. Do whatever you must to grow stronger. I will see you again one day, Naruto. And when I do, you better pray that you have the Mangekyo Sharingan. Anything less and you'll not even have a sliver of a chance. He would strike Naruto in the back of the neck, causing the young boy to fall over, unconscious. Itachi would then leave. The next morning, as the Anbu moved in to deal with the rebellion themselves, they were mortified to see that the rebellion had already been finished. Worse still, not only were the rebels dealt with, but innocent men, women, and children. Babies even. Infants in the cradle were among the casualties. The Anbu were no stranger to the darkness of the world system, and the complete non-issue human life was at the cost of peace. But even this was enough to turn stomachs. How could this happen? What kind of man could bring himself to do this without losing their mind? "We've got a live one," one of the Anbu shouted. Rushing over, they found Naruto laying there. No sign of a wound. It seems that the fear of the situation caused him to pass out. He must have blended in seamlessly with the bodies. That's why he survived. At least, that's what they thought. Naruto would be taken to the hospital where he wouldn't wake up for days. The doctors and psychologists began to theorize that Naruto might die in his sleep, not because of any physical injuries, but because of a broken heart. Eventually, Naruto did wake up. Looking at an unfamiliar ceiling, he just stared off into space. It didn't take long for a nurse to notice and call up one of the investigating shinobi, the current lead investigator of the intelligence unit, Inoichi Yamanaka. He came to the hospital and took up a seat before sitting down. "Naruto," he said. Naruto didn't seem to register him as even being there. "Naruto," the voice said again. Naruto turned his head without blinking to look at Inoichi. Inoichi gave a small smile, his eyes still signaling concern. "How are you doing?" Naruto didn't react. I suppose that's an obvious question. Inoichi then got into a more engaging sitting position. "Can you tell me what happened?" Naruto blinked. "The night of the massacre. Can you take us back to that night and tell us what happened?" Naruto's eyes widened as his Sharingan activated. Inoichi stiffened as he began to fear he was going to be attacked. "No." Naruto began reliving the night in his head. His eyes overran with tears. He began to scream and cry. Inoichi stood from his seat in surprise as the nurses ran into the room. "What happened?" they asked. "I was just asking him about the night the Uchiha were massacred." One of the nurses then looked at Inoichi with the coldest, most hateful stare, as if she herself was about to massacre him. "He's 7 years old and just suffered an intense traumatic experience, and you come in here asking him that? I need to know," Inoichi shouted at her, making sure his voice was heard over the crying. "Itachi, why? Why, Itachi? Why did you kill Mom and Dad? Itachi!" Inoichi and the nurse looked back when he said that. "Well, looks like you got what you wanted, so please, get out." They struggled to hold Naruto down. Inoichi stood by the window and watched them sedate the boy. Itachi killed the Uchiha, but that doesn't make any sense. Why would he do that? The case was open and shut. The culprit and motive were discovered, but neither they nor the profile seemed to match Itachi's personality. The real mystery was what changed in Itachi to cause this. But now that Itachi was a rogue shinobi, there was no real asking him, was there? So the file was simply logged and put away to gather dust. The village, despite being certain the Uchiha were responsible, did not wish for this to happen. Due to this, they tended to lay off of Naruto, even going so far as to trying to cheer him up, but he was hardly consolable. With trauma like that, only time could heal the wound. At around that same time, Sasuke was seeing more hatred poured upon him for the attack. With the Uchiha clan decimated, people no longer had to share their hatred. It could all be focused on Sasuke now. On one special occasion, Sasuke would be struck out of the blue by one of the villagers, a teenager who could hardly remember the Ninetales assault, but whose parents spoke negatively of Sasuke. He began to carry on their hatred in an unfounded manner, refusing to show any kindness, instead deciding to send that demon fox home with a black eye. And yeah, he gave Sasuke a black eye. But in return, Sasuke put him in traction. You see, Sasuke was a bit of a prodigy when it came to fighting, and his strength was inhuman due to his massive chakra reserves. And what made that even worse was that he had a sort of accuracy that very few Uzumaki had. He had the ability to sense things with almost a form of ESP, as if he had a dojutsu of some sort, but he didn't display it. In truth, it was a less of a physical eye and more of a mind's eye. And with that exceptional precision, he knew how and where to strike the body to cause the most damage and the most pain. So when he was struck and knocked on his rear, Sasuke was up in a moment's notice, making the fellow wish he hadn't been born. Sasuke ended up in the brig for that one. "I was struck first," Sasuke said. "Well, the other guy says it was you," Marino told him. "Said you attacked him first and that he hit you out of self-defense." "That's a lie," Sasuke said. "Well, either way, you've hurt this guy pretty bad, and whatever you did in return far outweighed what he did to you. Multiple organs bruised, some ruptured. You took away the kid's ability to reproduce, too. You kicked him that hard." Sasuke sat there and thought about it. "Well, we don't need any more of him running around here." Marino took a deep breath and sighed. "You know, some villagers would say the same of you." "Some villagers are fools," Sasuke retorted. "Whether that's true or false isn't up to me to decide," Marino said. "Regardless, you're not going home for at least a week, so you better get used to that cell. I'll bring you something to eat soon." As Sasuke laid there on the bench, the only piece of furniture in the room, he began to think about the village and how unfair it was. He had no idea what it was that he had done to deserve this kind of treatment, but he knew he wasn't going to stand it for much longer. As the years went by, Sasuke began attempting to pour his frustrations into his studies, into becoming the best shinobi he possibly could be. This led to him getting top marks in school, which led to some of the girls in the class beginning to favor him over Naruto. Naruto, as a result of his trauma, had slowly grown distant and silent. With Sasuke being strong, determined, and as edgy as could be, the girls started to want to get a piece of him. The fear that he might snap and put them in the hospital made the game even more intriguing. Of course, Sasuke wasn't much for any of the girls. He was just being the him that the world turned him into. As the time for graduation came around, Sasuke passed with flying colors. Naruto, despite having the Sharingan, was hard-pressed to pass due to his trauma taking his mind away from schooling. His therapist began working overtime to get him to understand that what happened to him was bad, but that his future was on the way, and that he couldn't live in the past. Naruto tried his best and eventually would manage to pass the test. He would get ready to be placed on a team, and when he was put on Team 7, a team that consisted of Sasuke, Sakura, and Kakashi. Kakashi Hatake would be their jonin. Coming into the room, he would see the three of them sitting there. Naruto held no smile, or even seemed to care that Kakashi had come in. Sasuke had seen him but refused to acknowledge him, and Sakura had neither seen nor acknowledged him, not that she could anyway. She was too preoccupied with that blonde bandit, Sasuke Uchiha. "Well, don't everyone rush to greet me at once," he said with a sigh. He began to wonder why Konoha would curse him with a team such as this. Looking at Naruto, he recognized how he had been in a similar situation as Kakashi, and assumed that this was an attempt by Hiruzen to get Kakashi to open up and share his experiences with someone else. Looking at Sasuke, he recognized him as the son of Minato Namikaze, his master. Despite that, Minato and Sasuke couldn't have been more different from each other. Sakura, well, she was there to be filler. She didn't have much in common with anyone, so she was basically the third wheel of his students. Seems as though that would always be her fate. Listening to the silence, Kakashi sighed. "It's too stuffy in here. Let's go outside." He stood by the door and watched his students stand. Sasuke was slow to get up, but was quickly followed by Sakura, who had more pep in her step than anyone, something she wasted on an unrequited relationship. Naruto was the last up. He just seemed tired. And so they walked outside to the back. "So, we need to do something before we can even consider ourselves even the start of a team, and that's to introduce ourselves. Tell me who you are, your likes, dislikes, and dreams. Standard OC template. Let me know who you are so I know what I'm in for." An awkward amount of time passed before Sakura raised her hand. "I guess I'll go first?" Kakashi pointed to her. "You're on the spot." Sakura then began to speak. "I'm Sakura Haruno, but most people just call me Sakura." "You can too," she said with a smile. "I dislike rivals who try to steal what's mine, and I love, well, it's not a thing as much as a person." She began obviously bobbing her head in Sasuke's direction while making obvious reference through the excess clearing of her throat. "My dreams are to be strong enough and dependable enough for the man of my dreams to consider me worthy of being his wife." Kakashi scoffed to suppress a chuckle. "Well, a dream is a dream, I guess." Turning his head, he spoke to Naruto. "What about you, Jethro?" Naruto looked up. Kakashi rolled his eyes. "We're introducing ourselves. Give me your name, likes, dislikes, and dreams." Naruto thought about it. "Well, my name is Naruto. I like to eat ramen. I don't like to sleep." "I can tell," Kakashi said. "Keep going." Naruto continued. "As for a dream, I don't know. I haven't thought that far ahead. I guess I just want to bring back something I lost." Kakashi nodded. It's better than nothing. Looking to Sasuke, he spoke. Your turn. Sasuke then went. My name is Sasuke Uzumaki. I don't like much. I dislike just about everything. And as for a dream, I don't have one. Kakashi was confused. You don't have a dream? Those are important though. How do you ever expect to motivate yourself as a shinobi? Sasuke shrugged. Why even become a shinobi then? Kakashi asked. 'Cause it's the only place I fit. Kakashi rubbed his face. Well, my name is Kakashi. My likes are a secret, my dislikes are a secret, and my dream is Nanya. He waited for a moment, but nobody took the bait. I had a good Nanya business joke cooked up and everything. He let out a sigh and looked to the skies. This is going to be really draining. And that's where I plan to put it on pause for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Switching Naruto and Sasuke around is an interesting idea indeed. One with many possibilities. I hope I'm capturing, well, what would happen. Be sure to let us know in the comments anything you might like to see in future installments of this series. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to be notified when more videos like this drop. And be sure to check out these other videos from our channel. Until next time, peace out.